Let's look at the steps for a normal change. We'll start with creating and scoping a normal change. During the creation and scope stage, first create a new change record or locate one that was generated through another application. All draft unassigned changes are identified by a state of draft. Within the change form, complete all relevant information about the change request. Describe the issue, identify the affected CI or CIs, assess the resulting failure probability and risk, and enter information about the schedule, planning, and conflicts. After you complete all the relevant fields with the information available, assign the change to a group and submit for review or approval. Create change requests from other ServiceNow records, such as an incident or problem, or directly from within the change application. During the course of an incident or problem investigation, a change may be required to permanently fix the underlying issue. To create a change record from an incident or problem record, go to the Form context menu and select Create Normal Change. Certain field values are copied across to the change record, including configuration item, priority, and short description. You can edit these among other fields after the change record is created. Related incident or problem records are displayed in the Related List section of the change. To create a new change record, go to Change, Create New. Alternatively, click the New button at the top of any change list. Before the change form loads, the change request screen appears where you must choose the change type. Click the Normal link to create a new normal change. On the change form, the context menu is located in the title bar, and it provides access to additional actions throughout the life cycle of the change. The record is identified by a unique read-only system-generated number. Gray fields are read-only and cannot be edited. You cannot save or submit the form until you have completed the mandatory fields. Mandatory fields are marked by a red asterisk, which turns gray after a value is entered. After the record has been saved, related lists are visible at the bottom. Locate the process flow at the top of the form. This graphically displays the current stage in the change record's lifecycle. The process flow indicator automatically advances when certain conditions are met. All changes begin at draft when raised. During the approval phase, the change advances through assess and authorize. After approval, the change advances to waiting to deploy. When the planned start date value is met, it automatically sets the record to in progress. While the change is in progress, there are 2 change tasks that are required to be closed before the change can move on: implementing and testing. When the final task is closed, the change advances to review. Setting the closure code and clicking Close Change advances the change record to closed. Note that at any point throughout its lifecycle following the initial save and before the change is in progress, you can cancel the change. The process flow advances straight to canceled. Use templates to add predefined values. Choose a template from the list, and some of the fields in the change form automatically populate with values. To view and apply existing templates, click the Toggle Template Bar link located under the More Options menu in the Form title bar. Template names appear along the template bar at the bottom of the form. To apply an existing template, click the appropriate template title. Additional icons then appear to the right of the template bar. More Options allows you to filter and make changes to existing templates. Click the plus icon to create a new template for commonly occurring normal changes. Give your template a name, specify which fields are automatically populated on the change form and what their values are. Depending on your permissions, templates that you create may be available only to you or to the groups and individuals you designate. Click the X icon to close the template bar. Some common field types that appear in your form include reference fields, locked fields, and date fields. Reference fields refer to a record in another table. Click the magnifying glass icon to view the list of available reference values. A list of records opens corresponding to the particular reference field. Click the underlined value in the first column to select a specific record. Alternatively, if you already know what you are looking for, start typing the value in the reference field and then select from the list. Expand fields with a lock icon to add multiple reference values to one field. Using the reference field, select a value, then repeat as required to find and select all values you want to add. After you have added values, click the lock icon again to collapse the field with your added values. Fields that require a date or time display a calendar icon. Click the calendar icon to select your month and date, and then manually type the time. Click the green check mark to save your selected date and time. Requested by is the user who requests the change. Although this value automatically populates with the opened by user's name, you can edit the requested by field to indicate a different requester. The requested by field is a reference field, so select from the pre-existing list of users. Type the user's name and then select their name from the list of available matches. The On Behalf of field behaves the same way. To the right of the requested by field, click the reference icon to preview the referenced user record. Click the Open Record button to open the record. When the affected CI is selected, the location field is automatically filled in. Select an environment and a change class. Categorization provides the following benefits. Assign environment and change class to improve the clarity and granularity of reporting data. Categorization can also assist in future change implementations and in the search for a resolution. A configuration item, or CI, is any component that needs to be managed to deliver an IT service. For example, an individual laptop, a particular server, a specific version of software, or a business service. Information about CIs and their relationships are documented in the CMDB. In the Configuration Item field, type or select the component that appears to be affected by or is causing the issue. After you select a CI value, additional icons appear. Click the Open in Dependency Views icon to view a visual depiction of upstream and downstream related CIs, along with the type of each relationship in another tab. Click the Show Other Active Tasks icon to open the list of tasks related to this CI that are already in progress. These include other changes, incidents, and problems. Click the Health Dashboard icon to view a dashboard of the health of the CI, along with its change history in a timeline format. Click the Reference icon to preview the record. Click the Open Record button to open the record. A Dependency Views map graphically displays the logical model of the CIs and their relationships in the CMDB. The Dependency Views map has one starting point, called the root CI or root node of the map. The root CI is highlighted with a pulsing outline. The maps can show both upstream and downstream dependencies for the root CI. By default, the Dependency Views map displays 3 levels, both upstream and downstream relationships, and collapses all clusters. Administrators can configure the number of levels displayed. Use the layout controls at the upper right to display map elements in different configurations for easier viewing. Use the Filter panel to display fewer levels or to filter out elements you do not want to see, and then save the filter to use later. Draw new relationships between existing elements or edit them. In a Dependency Views map, icons indicate if a CI has an active pending issue. You can investigate the tasks that are connected to a CI to obtain more details. The map collapses and expands clusters to make them easier to view. Understanding the dependencies and other relationships among the CIs enhances the operational delivery of incident, problem, and change management. A CI record contains all of the relevant data about an item, such as name, asset tag, serial number, and manufacturer. CI forms also contain information about the relationships between CIs. A CI can be a physical, virtual, or logical device in the CMDB. Some examples of CIs include applications, databases, and servers. CIs must be identified, controlled, and recorded to support effective service management processes such as incident, problem, change, and release. The Form Context menu located in the Form title bar provides access to additional actions throughout the life cycle of the CI record. Gray fields are read-only and cannot be edited. You cannot save or submit the form until you have completed the mandatory fields. After the record has been saved, related lists are visible at the bottom of the record. Various widgets in the report display the CI's health with the following color codes. Green indicates that the CI passed the metric test. For example, it is not a duplicate. Red indicates that the CI failed the test. For example, it is a duplicate. Gray indicates that the CI was not tested for this metric because the threshold was not set for the CI in the CI module. This report also displays the change history for the CI in a timeline format that you can zoom in or out of to select a time period for which to display details. Drill down to view the field values that were changed on the CI form. Compare the CI record at 2 selected dates, and download a snapshot of the CI. Use the Related List tabs, Change, Incident, and Task, to view other tasks affecting this CI. Use the Business Services Related List tab to view business services affected by this CI. If you need a business service or configuration item added or updated, go to Self-Service Business Service Request Catalog and then select Service Management Application Support. For a business service CI, you can submit a request to add or update. For an infrastructure CI, you can submit a request to add. And also for an infrastructure CI, you can submit a request to update. Now that we have taken a close look at the configuration item field, let's return to some of the other fields on the change form. Manually select the priority, urgency, and exception reason for the change. Unlike the field in an incident form, change priority is not automatically calculated. Priority tracks the relative importance of implementing the change. Urgency is the measure of business criticality based on the impact and needs of the customer. An exception reason is the reason for the exception. Note that risk and failure probability can be automatically adjusted later in the process as a result of filling out the complete failure probability assessment and then running Execute Risk Calculation. Enter the mandatory fields Short Description, Description, and Reason for Change. Provide a brief summary of the change in the Short Description field. Provide any additional information available in the Description field. Click the Search Knowledge icon to the right of the Short Description field to search the knowledge base for existing information or solutions to include in the change record for use in the implementation. If you find a useful or helpful article, click its title to view the content and explore further. Alternatively, click Attach to Change Request to copy the article directly to the change in the Additional Comments field. When the record is saved, the article is emailed directly to the requested by user, as well as members of the watch list. The requested by and on behalf of users are the stakeholders for the change. The implementer group is the primary group and individual responsible for implementing the change request. The owner group is the group and individual responsible for project oversight of the change. The Notes tab allows you to document change activities throughout its lifecycle for both an external and an internal audience. The Work Notes field provides a log to document all the technical and behind-the-scenes work on a change. When you save the record or click Post, Work Notes are stored in the record's activity stream, where they can be viewed and built on by users with permission to view this change record. Fully documenting Work Notes is critical for continuity in the change management process. Work Notes are visible only to licensed users and not to external users or customers. Use the Additional Comments field to communicate back and forth with the requested by user and other stakeholders directly in ServiceNow. For example, keep the requester updated on the progress of their change or to request additional information from them. Additional comments, including the updated information and comments history, when saved, are emailed to the requester. They can respond directly to the email, and their response is documented in the activity stream of the change record, along with your additional comments. In the Schedule tab, complete the change schedule before you submit the change for approval. In Requested By Date, enter the date that the change should be implemented by. In Planned Start End Date, enter the estimated date and time for completion of the implementation. Planned and actual start and end date fields are validated to ensure that the end date does not occur before the start date. The actual start and end date fields are populated automatically based on when the change state is updated to implement and then review. Click the Planning tab to enter information to assist approvers, implementers, and task assignees. In Prerequisites Dependencies, type the prerequisites and dependencies that are required before implementing the change. In Change Impact Description, type potential risks and impact associated with the change. In Exception Justification, type in a detailed justification for the exception. In Test Plan, provide details of planned and completed tests before and post-implementation that indicate the potential success of this change. In Change Plan, provide step-by-step instructions for how the change should be implemented. And in Backout Plan, type the steps to revert the change to the state before implementation, include when this can occur, and if the change window includes time to back out. Attach additional documentation, such as emails, spreadsheets, screenshots, and documents to your change record. To add attachments, click the paperclip icon on the form title bar, choose your file, and then click Attach. You can add multiple documents using this method. Alternatively, drag and drop files from your desktop onto the form to attach them. To remove a saved attachment, click the paperclip icon again, select the file to remove, and then click Remove. To save data on a form, you can click Save, Submit, or Update. You cannot save data on a form until all the mandatory fields are completed. If you try to navigate away from an unsaved form, the system displays a pop-up warning. Save is used at any time to save data on a form and keep that form open. This is useful when you plan to continue working on the record. Submit is used to save data in a form for the first time and return you to a previous screen. It is useful if you are either temporarily or permanently finished working on the record. The Submit button becomes the Update button after the record has first been saved. Like Submit, the Update button saves the data you have typed in the form and returns you to a previous screen. In the Related Records tab, enter any external ticket or requested items associated with this change. In External Ticket, enter the ticket number used. In Requested Item, enter the requested item that is associated with this change. In Problem Investigation, this field is populated automatically based on a closure code with issues. An incident ticket is populated from Incident Ticket and required for an emergency change. In the CAB Workbench tab, complete the CAB information, date, recommendation, if it's required, and the delegate, before you submit the change for approval. In CAB Date, enter the date that the CAB meeting will be held that will cover this change request. In CAB Recommendation, enter the recommendation notes from the CAB meeting. Select CAB Required if the CAB is needed to approve this request. And in CAB Delegate, identify a delegate to attend the CAB in place of the assignee. In the Change Form title bar, click View Calendar to open a graphic, interactive depiction that displays your change against any configured blackout schedule and maintenance window entries. Alternatively, go to Related Links, View Calendar. Use the calendar icon to change the timeline to a specific day. Number 2, use the arrow icons to scroll to the previous or next day. Number 3, drag the complete change schedule to a different day or time. Alternatively, drag the change schedule entry's planned start and end dates to a different day or time. Number 4, toggle the timeline between day and month view. Note that day is the default setting when you access this calendar view. Number 5, view keyboard shortcuts for use in the calendar. And number 6, configure settings to set filters to show what information you would like to see on the calendar view and to choose which related changes are displayed. Click the View Form button in the upper right to return to the change form. Use the Change Calendar to view and modify the planned start and planned end dates, or both, for your change. Compare your change schedule against any blackout periods or maintenance windows. This can be helpful if the conflict check displayed conflicts. For example, you might not be permitted to schedule your proposed change during a published blackout period. Alternatively, you may only be permitted to schedule your change during a published maintenance window. Click a Change Schedule entry to view the current change owner, group, and summary, which is the short description. If required, use the calendar icon to modify the schedule dates. Click Save to view your changes in the calendar. The Change Schedule module provides a graphic, interactive depiction of past, current, and upcoming changes. Information is populated from the Schedule tab from each change request. Number 1, the calendar at the upper right shows the current date range you are viewing. Zoom in and out using the shortcuts such as 1D for 1 day, 1W for 1 week, or 3M for 3 months. Use the calendar icons to specify an exact date and time range. Number 2, hover over any change icon to view more information about the change. Drag left to right to reschedule the change, which affects corresponding fields within the change. Changes marked in red are changes that occur outside of their approved maintenance window. Changes that are crossed out are canceled or rejected. And number 3, the date range along the bottom of the screen provides points of reference for the changes. The vertical green line indicates the current date. When the change is ready to be assessed, click the Assess Change button to move the state and the stage to assess. Manual creation of additional tasks allows the change owner to maintain accountability for the change record as a whole, but request assistance with the implementation from other groups or individuals. These manual tasks are optional, and in addition to the 2 tasks created automatically by the change workflow, the implementation task and the implementation testing task. Short description and description are mandatory. These fields provide the instructions for the task assignee to complete the work on the implementation. After you configure and assign the new task, click Submit to save your changes and return to the change record. Manual tasks are optional, and the change can be closed without these tasks being completed. The automatic tasks are mandatory to close out the change. The automatic tasks are created when the change moves from waiting to deploy to in progress. To conduct a failure probability assessment, follow these steps. Scroll down to the Related Links section of the change form and then click Complete Failure Probability Assessment. The Markel Failure Probability Assessment pop-up opens. Answer the predefined mandatory questions accurately. Click Submit to run the automatic risk calculation. Answers on the assessment questionnaire give you a failure probability total. Another option is to scroll down to the Related Links section of the change form and click Execute Risk Calculation to run a simple risk and failure probability calculation that incorporates the change schedule and the CI. The risk calculation is automatically applied and can update the risk, failure probability, and impact fields depending on the result. Risk, after it is set, gives lead time. Failure probability plus impact equals risk. Note that if both the assessment and the calculate risk options are used together, the highest risk value from both methods is always selected. For the failure probability assessment, after you submit the assessment form, an automatic risk calculation runs, and the risk and failure probability fields are then automatically updated according to the assessment. Risk calculation also sets the lead time and the earliest start date and time. If the change must be implemented before the earliest start date, explain the exception. Assessment results are displayed in the Assessment Instances tab. From the tab, click the AINST number to view the questions asked and the responses given to determine the outcome of the risk calculation. After you run an assessment, you can rerun the assessment multiple times before you request approval. Complete the assessment as before. Click Yes at the prompt to complete the assessment form again. When the automatic risk calculation runs, the risk and impact values can change. They are updated according to the most recent assessment. A new assessment instance record is displayed in the Assessment Instances tab. We'll return to the change form now. Before you save the change record, the read-only conflict status field displays not run. The conflict check cannot run until you enter the CI or affected CI, the planned start date, and the planned end date. A conflict check runs automatically each time you save, submit, or update the change. If there are no conflicts, conflict status displays no conflict. Conflict last run displays the last date and time that a conflict check was run. If no conflicts are detected, the conflict status and conflict last run fields are automatically populated. If conflicts are detected, conflict status displays conflict. A red message is displayed, directing you to view the associated conflicts. Locate these in the Conflicts tab. If at least one conflict is detected, you are directed to the Conflicts tab to view the details. In the Conflicts tab, click Check Conflicts to run a manual check. This compares the change schedule and configuration item against existing changes to identify conflicts. Displayed results can help you ensure that the change is 1. Not scheduled during a blackout time period, 2. Scheduled during an approved maintenance window for the associated CIs. It is up to the change owner, the assigned to user, to review the conflicts and determine if they need to update the change schedule to avoid the conflicts or proceed with the implementation. Update the work notes with relevant justification if you are progressing without resolving the conflict, because approvers can view these conflicts. By default, the CI selected in the configuration item field is automatically added to the affected CI's related list at the bottom of the change form. If additional configuration items are affected by the change, add them after you first save or submit the record. To associate additional CIs to the change, follow these steps. Scroll down to the Affected CIs tab and then click Add. In the Add Affected Configuration Items pop-up, use the Configuration Class field, the Go-To search fields, or the column-specific search fields to narrow down the list of CIs to the ones that you want to add. Select the checkbox to the left of each CI entry to select one or more CIs. On the upper right corner, click Add Selected to add your selected CIs to the Affected CIs tab. Alternatively, click Add All to add all CIs returned in your search. Note that this tab does not appear until the record has been saved at least once. In adding affected CIs, you can apply a filter to narrow down the list. 1. Click the funnel icon to expand the condition builder. 2. Select the field you want to filter on. 3. Select the filter condition. 4. Select a value. Click or and to add more conditions. Click Run to view the results. And number 8, look at the breadcrumb to see the filter details. To select and add affected CIs, check the box for each CI you want to add, and then click Add Selected. CIs display on the change record on the Affected CIs tab. To associate additional services to the change, follow these steps. Scroll down to the Impacted Services tab and then click Add. In the Add Affected Configuration Items pop-up, use the Go-To or column-specific search fields to narrow down the list of CIs to the ones that you are interested in adding to your change. Select the checkbox to the left of the CI entry to select one or more CIs. On the upper right corner, click Add Selected to add your selected CIs to the Impacted Services tab. Alternatively, click Add All to add all CIs returned in your search. After you add additional affected CIs, refresh the Impacted Services tab. To do this, click the form context and then click Refresh Impacted Services. Impacted services can be services, systems, or applications that could be affected by the change because they rely on, depend on, or use the components that you are changing. You can create an outage record from the change. After you click the Form Context menu icon, select Create Outage. A blank outage form appears. Complete or update the following fields. Configuration item displays the CI from the change. The type field by default displays planned outage when you create a new outage record. For begin and end, enter the estimated start and end dates for the outage where planned downtime is occurring. In duration, after saving, the length of downtime is automatically created from the begin and end dates specified above. Task number displays the change number used to create the outage record. The short description field by default combines the configuration item and outage field values to form a title for the outage. After completing the form, click Update to save your changes and return to the change record. After the outage record is created, to view the record, scroll down to the Outages tab, and the new outage record is listed. To end the planned downtime, open the outage record from the Outages tab. Enter the end date, click Update, and the duration is calculated automatically. To locate changes where you are the owner, the assigned to user, there are several places you can check. Go to the Change application and then click Open. This displays all active change records. Group by the Assigned To column. Another alternative is to go to the Service Desk application and click My Work. This displays all work where you are the assigned to user, including changes and change tasks. To quickly identify changes within the My Work module, which includes several different types of tasks, click the Column Control menu and group by task type. If you belong to more than one group, click the Column Control menu and group by assignment group to organize your list. Another alternative is to click your organization's logo in the upper left corner of the banner, or go to Self-Service Homepage to access the ITIL homepage. This can be set as your default homepage. From the homepage, locate the My Work dashboard. This displays all work where you are the assigned to user, including changes. Move the dashboard around on the homepage to make it more visible if necessary. Note that to locate changes that are assigned to your group, but do not yet have a change owner, go to Service Desk My Groups Work. The Change Overview module includes lists, charts, and more, such as Open Changes by Risk and Priority and Open Changes Grouped. Click an element of a graph to view the underlying data. Click the gear icon in the upper right corner to control the intervals at which the page refreshes. You can also refresh individual widgets and save some reports as image files. Let's take a look at creating and scoping a change request in your instance. I'm in the Markel test instance and I'm impersonating the ITIL user, so that we can go through the process of detecting and creating changes. First, what I want to do is go out to the incident application here in the Application Navigator, and I'm going to go to an open incident record. And the process is very similar for an incident record like we see here or a problem record. But to create a change request from an incident or problem record, you go here to the context menu next to the incident and click Create Change. That opens a change record directly from the incident record, and you can see that the incident is listed here on the Incidents Pending Change tab. So this is the incident that we created the change from, and the two records are linked. And problem works the same way. You go to the context menu and click Create Change. So let's take a look now at how to create a change manually. So I'll close the incident application, I'll go to Change, and I'll click Create New. And I get the screen where I need to say whether I'm creating a normal change, a standard change, or an emergency change. And in this case, we're going to create a normal change. So here on the change request form, there's a system-generated number for this change request. And this field is gray, so it's read-only, cannot be changed. Mandatory fields are marked with a red asterisk, and if there's a value filled in for the mandatory field, that asterisk turns gray, as we can see here. Some information was automatically added, so the requested by field and the on behalf of field were filled in with my name, the logged in user, the ITIL user, and the other fields we can go ahead and fill in with good values. So change class field and the environment field are both used to help classify the change request. And this is very useful for reporting purposes. So in change class, I will say addition, and in environment, I'll say training. The affected CI is the CI that is impacted by this change. And I have a CI I want to use in mind, but I want to show you a different one as an example first. I'm going to select this one so I can show you these icons here for the identified affected CI. So the dependency views map icon, if you click that, this opens the dependency view map, and our designated affected CI is here. That's the root CI or the node. And you can see that the outline is pulsing. That lets us know it's the root CI. And this shows relationships between the CI we selected and other CIs. So I can get information about those CIs. I can also hover over the connecting lines to see the relationship. If necessary, I can zoom out or I can zoom in using the buttons here in the upper left. I can use these layout options here at the top right to change how the map looks. I can click horizontal and see it this way. I can click radial and put our root CI in the middle. So there's a lot of options here. In group, that's a different view. I'll go back to radial. And then details allows me to see incidents, problems, and changes that are related to the CI. So this is a nice way to see all the relationships between the CI you've designated and other CIs in the system. I'll close the dependency views map and go back to our change record. And here I can click Show Other Active Tasks. And this will show me other active tasks affecting this configuration item. And this is not only changes, as you can see, but also incidents, problems, and problem tasks. This particular CI has quite a lot of active tasks associated with it. So I would want to see what these are and also coordinate with the people that are also doing work on this configuration item. I'll close this and I'll click Open in Health Dashboard. And this gives information about the affected CI along with a timeline of when changes have been made to the CI. I'll close that. And then here I can click the reference icon to open the record for that affected CI and see a preview. And if I want to fully open the record, I can click Open Record here. If I'm in the affected CI field, which is a reference field, and I don't see the affected CI I want, or it's out of date, I can go to the Service Portal. And I have the Service Portal open in a different tab. I'll flip to that. And if I need to report that a CI is missing or that it's out of date here on the portal, I can click Request Something and then go to Service Management Application Support. And here is where I can add requests to make changes to the service management tool. And these are the options: CMDB CI Add Request Infrastructure. This is CMDB CI Update Request Infrastructure. And then here is CMDB CI Add Update Request for a business service. So I would just click one of these and fill out the simple form to go ahead and request that a CI be added or be updated. I'll close the Service Portal and return to the change request form that we are creating. And I'll choose the CI I want to use now. Notice when I selected that affected CI, the location field filled in automatically. And that is, if the CI has a location associated with it on its record, that will fill in automatically here. I need to add a short description. And again, you would add a viable short description that explains what the change is about. So in this case, I actually said addition. I'll say adding software. Description, I would add more information. I'm just going to put in adding software now. And here I'll say need software. I have a few more mandatory fields up here. I need to fill in the owner group. And remember, the owner group and owner are responsible for project oversight of this change. So I'm going to select a group, and I selected that group because I know who I want to assign this change to, and I will assign it. And then implementer group and implementer are the people that are going to be responsible for implementing the change. So I'll select that same group again and the same person. And did I select that from the list? I'll select that from the list. So now all of my mandatory fields here at the top are filled in because they're gray. I can see that. But if I scroll down, I see some more asterisks here on these two tabs. So I know there's mandatory fields on these tabs as well. So on the planning field, there's prerequisites and dependencies. And again, you would fill this in with viable information about the prerequisites that need to be done before this change is implemented and any dependencies, and also an impact description. How is this change going to affect the system? If you have the information, you can add information in these fields now. They do become mandatory later in the process, so if you have the information, it's good to add it now, but we'll add it when it's necessary. And then on the Schedule tab, there's two very important mandatory fields here, and that's planned start date and planned end date. So I'll go ahead and add in a date and time, add the time manually, and then click OK. And here I will add a planned end date and time and click the green check mark. I also want to point out the Notes tab. This is where you can add work notes to document the work that's being done on the change, and then additional comments is used to communicate with the user. You can also come here to the work notes list, click that lock icon, and add extra people to this field, I'll say ITIL Manager. I want to add the ITIL Manager, and then I'll click the lock icon again to close the field. This button here allows you to add yourself. And this is useful if you are filing this change for someone else. You may add yourself at the top in reported by, but if you want to obtain the work notes, whenever work notes are added, if you want to receive an email notification, just click this button, Add Me, and then you are added here as well for the work notes. Another option here on the form, of course, is to click the paperclip icon and add any attachments. You can add spreadsheets, image files, screenshots, documents, anything that's going to help resolve and implement and bring this change to a closure. You can also see here at the top of the record, we're just creating this. We haven't even saved it yet. This is the process flow, and all new changes start in draft state. And then as we work on this, you're going to see this move across to go through all the different stages. So now we've filled in the mandatory fields with the information we have available now, and I'm going to select Save to save this record and stay on the form. And you can see our changes were saved. It's still in draft. And if I scroll to the bottom now, we have a lot of related lists available, and we'll look at those a little bit later in the process. I'm on our change request, and now we can look at a few of the other tabs and fields. So I'll scroll down to the Related Records tab. And here you can add information about an external ticket number, a requested item, or an incident. I also want to go to this next tab, the CAB Workbench. And this is where you can add information about a future CAB date for your change request, a recommendation, if CAB is required, and CAB Delegate allows you to identify a delegate that can attend the CAB meeting instead of you if you are unavailable. I also want to go to this button here at the top, View Calendar. This opens the change calendar so that you can see how your planned change compares to blackout windows, maintenance windows, and possible related changes. So here's where blackouts are listed, maintenance window. This is our change, and here are related changes. Right now we're looking at this in day view. I can also switch to month view to see our change listed this way, along with blackout schedules, blackout and maintenance schedules. So use whichever works better for you, day or month. I can go back to the form by clicking View Form. And I'm going to go over here now to the Application Navigator on the left and go to the Change Application, go to Schedules, and then I want to click Change Schedule. This shows me a graphic view of past, current, and upcoming changes. And this information comes from the Schedule tab on each change request. I can hover over a change to see details about it. If I could grab one, there, short description. I can see the number in the short description. I also have options here at the top to view a different time frame. I can view 3 months or 6 months or any of these time periods. I'm going to click my browser back button to go back to our change request. And now this form, our change request form, is complete and ready for me to click Assess Change. So now the change has moved to Assess here in the process flow, and the state has changed to Assess. And it's time for us to do the failure probability assessment. So I'll scroll down to the Related Links section. And right here in Related Links, I'll click Complete Failure Probability Assessment. This gives me a set of short questions to answer, such as, has this change been successfully implemented in production in the last 3 months? Has it been successfully implemented in a test environment? I'm going to go through here and quickly answer the questions. And I'll choose easy answers to these. Will the change cause any disruption in service? We'll say no. Will it be transparent to end users? Yes. How difficult is it to back out? You've got no backout plan, greater than 2 hours, between 30 minutes and 2 hours. I'll select less than 30 minutes. And then is the implementation window sufficient to allow time to test and back out? And I'll say yes. Then I click Submit. I'm also going to go back to the Related Links section to execute a risk calculation. And I do this after completing the failure probability assessment. I'll click Risk Calculation, and my results appear here at the top. So failure probability assessment is 4 unlikely, and the risk condition applied is 4 low. If I need to, at any time, I can rerun the probability assessment. I scroll down, I click it again. It lets me know that I've completed it before, and I can run it again by clicking yes. I won't do that now, though. What I can do, because I filled out the assessment, is go to the related lists here at the bottom and click Assessment Instances tab. And here, this is all the information that I just added to that assessment. It's all of my answers to the questions. If you run the failure probability assessment more than once, you'll get a different AINST number here for each time you run it, and you can click into those records to see the answers for that particular assessment on the date and time that it was taken. So now that we have assessed risk, let's take a look at conflicts. When we saved the record for the first time, a conflict status check was done automatically, and results were entered here into these 2 fields. So the conflict status revealed no conflict, and the conflict last run tells me the date and time that we last ran the conflict status. If the conflict status showed conflicts, the change owner would come down here to the conflicts detected list and determine, based on the conflicts detected, if the change schedule needed to be updated to avoid those conflicts, or if the change request could go forward with the schedule as is. Other options down here on these related lists, here on the Affected CIs tab, I can add another affected CI if necessary. In Impacted Services, I can click Add and add an impacted service if necessary. And also, you see an Outages tab here. You can select New to create a new outage here, or you also have an option here at the top in the context menu to create an outage. What I want to do now is request approval for our change. So I'll click Request Approval, and I get a friendly reminder that there are a couple of mandatory fields I need to fill out, and that's Test Plan and Backout Plan on the Planning tab. So I'll go to the Planning tab, and here are my mandatory fields. And again, you would add viable information in Test Plan and detailed steps in the Backout Plan. All right, let me click Request Approval again. Oh, and it's reminding me that I have to add exception justification here. So I can fill that in. It will always remind you if there are mandatory fields that need to be filled in. I also have to do the exception reason, and that's because my planned start date is earlier than the earliest start date. I'll say it's for a schedule reason. So let's try again to click Request Approval. Okay, the mandatory fields were filled in, and we've requested approval. The change is now in authorized state here in the process flow, and here the state field says authorize. And if I scroll down now to the approvers related list, I can see the people. I need one of these people to approve the change request, and then it can move forward. So now we are waiting for approval on this change request.